Hi guys, story recaps here. Today, I am going to explain a 2007 American post-apocalyptic action thriller film called I Am Legend. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. Dr. Crippen is featured on television about her major breakthrough, genetically altering the measles virus to attack malignant cells. She reveals that thus far, all of the cancer patients who have been treated with the cure have recovered. 3 years have passed since the previous scene. New York City has devolved into a dismal and barren wasteland devoid of human life. Roads and buildings are covered in grass, abandoned automobiles line the roadways, and the city is deafeningly quiet. The apocalypse appears to have arrived. Robert Neville and his dog, Sam, are traveling through the desolate town. A herd of deer darts across his path, nearly colliding with him. He pursues her at a high rate. We realize it's a hunt when he tries to shoot them. The deer disperse and dash down a lane obstructed by abandoned automobiles. Robert pursues the deer on foot, attempting to capture it. He gets the deer in his sights as he rounds a corner, only to be beaten to the kill by a lion that escaped from the NYC Zoo. Robert is undecided whether to shoot the lion and its family, who also appear on the scene, or leave the deer to them. Robert's watch alarm starts ringing at this point, suggesting that the sun is sinking and he needs to go. Robert's house is seen. It's a regular American detached house. To mask the scent of the steps, he bleaches them. Robert and Sam appear to be having a regular evening, eating manufactured foods, and watching recorded television shows. Robert closes, locks, and guards every door and window with large steel shutters after a bath. He sleeps in a bathtub with Sam, rifle in hand, surrounded by screams and screeches. He has nightmares about Zoe, his wife, their child, Marley, and Sam, the puppy, attempting to flee New York. As an army doctor, Robert is outfitted in a military uniform and resolves to stay in New York on his own to try to halt the infection. They inform Marley that they are going on vacation. She notices her parents are upset and tries to console them by holding out a butterfly in her palms. Robert awakens from his dream to face his lonely reality for the second time. Robert works out and visits his fortress-like home's basement, where he keeps a modest but high-tech laboratory. We can tell that he has been testing a vaccine for the illness that has killed out the majority of humanity. He's tested the vaccination on mice, apparently only one of hundreds, in the hopes of finding a viable cure. Except for one, all of the mice are quite hostile. Robert takes notice of this mouse and declares that the substance in question is ready for human testing. Later, Robert gets dressed and travels to a video rental store, where he converses with some mannequins he has set up, which is his only human interaction. He seemed to have devised a game to keep himself from succumbing to madness. There, Robert notices a woman mannequin that he wants to learn more about. He promises Sam that he would talk with her tomorrow while gathering some corn in the field. Later, Robert goes to several adjacent condo flats in search of supplies. He comes upon a room with a plastic-wrapped bed and another room with 2 cribs. As he empathizes with the death of loved ones, we can feel the agony in his eyes. Robert has developed a radio message that will be broadcast on all AM radio stations. It claims that he is still alive and that he will be waiting for any survivors at the Bay's docks every day at noon. Sam spots a deer while playing golf on a military plane, so the two of them chase after it. The deer goes into an ancient ground-level building, and Sam follows, even though Robert tries to stop him. Robert enters the building since Sam has refused to return on his own. Robert investigates the dimly lit rooms with care. He walks slowly, aware that the building may be home to beings known as Darkseekers. Darkseekers react to light and sound, and he hopes that by blocking his flashlight with his palm, he doesn't wake them up. He notices the deer's body. I'm relieved that it isn't Sam. He keeps moving forward. He comes into a chamber full of sleeping Darkseekers and makes his way back with caution. Robert notices Sam hiding behind a desk. Sam takes a step back, as if to indicate that someone is approaching. Robert is then attacked by an infected guy who is shot dead as he leaps out of the darkness to attack him. Sam and Robert both begin rushing through the building. More infected come and begin chasing them. Some of them attack him, but when he jumps through the window, the Darkseekers surrounding him perish in the light. Soon after, Robert creates a trap by smashing a blood vial on the tarp to catch one of the infected. When he succeeds, the Darkseekers commander flees the building, yelling at Robert and retreating to the cover of the darkness since his skin burns when he comes into touch with sunlight. Robert returns to his lab with the captured female Darkseeker. He injects the mouse with the vaccine that makes it less aggressive. He initially observes promising effects, but after a brief battle, the woman collapses. He uses an adrenaline shot to resuscitate her and continues to tweak his serums in the hopes of discovering a cure. That night, he has another dream about his wife and child attempting to flee New York during the evacuation turmoil. He recreates the fear and chaos on the streets as residents try to flee before the infected seize control. He boards a plane with his family, including Sam, as per his daughter's request. Robert reawakens just as they are about to take off. Robert sets his clock to 30 minutes before dusk before leaving the house. He hears old stories about people who were treated by Dr. Crippen's vaccination but had symptoms that resembled the early stages of rabies. He fishes and talks to Sam about a birthday celebration he would give for him after visiting the harbor at midday. Now is the time for him to find out. While driving around, he realizes his mannequin has been moved. He yells at the mannequin, Fred, and asks him what he's doing here. Robert suffers from a nervous breakdown and shoots Fred. The infected had set the identical trap he established for them the day before during the night. The trap has caught Robert. He collides with his skull and collapses. His watch beeps, and it's dark when he wakes up. Sam has been patiently waiting for him. Finally, just as dusk sets, he cuts himself free, but he falls on his knife and impales his leg. After that, the infected leader comes, accompanied by infected dogs. They attack him just as the last ray of light vanishes. Sam stands up for him and fights off one of the dogs. Robert is able to crawl back to his car and fetch a revolver, which he uses to kill the infected dogs. When he sees Sam collapsing from a bite wound, he takes her up and puts her in the car. He places Sam on a table and injects her with an experimental vaccine when he gets home. As Sam's hair continues to come out and she attempts to bite him, the vaccine fails to save her, and Robert is forced to strangle her as she struggles in his arms. As he bids farewell to his lone friend, tears flood down his cheeks. After that, he goes out and buries her in the streets. As promised to Sam, he pays a visit to the video rental store's woman mannequin and greets her. Robert is being suffocated by the darkness. He vows to combat all the infected face to face in a grief-stricken passion. The infected rush at him after he puts up a dummy on the dock. He slams his SUV into the throngs of infected who prowl the streets late at night. He comes dangerously close to colliding with the pier's end. His SUV was flipped by the infected. A dazzling light shines on him just before he is going to be killed by the leader of the Darkseekers, scaring them away. When the woman tries to find out where Robert lives, he gives her the address and urges her to go there only after sunrise so they won't be able to track him down. Robert loses consciousness. He's dreaming about the chopper his wife and child used to flee New York this time. A nearby helicopter is assaulted by an infected as it takes off, crashing into the chopper transporting his family. He awakens in his home to the sound of Shrek on the television and sutures on his knife wound. He grabs a rifle and heads to the kitchen, convinced it's his family for a brief period. Anna and her son Ethan, who had heard Robert's radio message and gone to find him the day before, were the ones who rescued him. Anna prepares breakfast for them, consisting of powdered eggs and bacon. Anna discusses her intention to leave New York and go to a Vermont colony of immune survivors. Robert, on the other hand, insists that everyone is dead and that such a place does not exist, which frightens Anna and Ethan. Robert then says that he was attempting to save the bacon. That's why he reacted the way he did. He apologizes to Anna after cooling down, but he still refuses to leave. He then walks Anna around his lab before injecting another serum into the afflicted woman. While locking the house, Anna begs Robert to join them once more. He inquires as to how she knows Vermont has a safe zone. Anna claims that God spoke to her. Robert starts to get agitated. He informs her about the infection, such as the fact that 90% of people died from the KV virus, only 1% are immune, and the remaining 588 million people become Darkseekers. Robert notices the infected attacking the house a little time later. They had followed Anna back when she rescued Robert the night before. He turns on his setup defenses, turns on the lights, and blasts up automobiles. The infected are so numerous that they burst the shutters, and just a few make it inside. One of the infected is destroying the ceiling to make room for more Darkseekers. Robert, Anna, and Ethan flee to the basement lab after shooting them. They notice that the sick female he had earlier captured and used to test the virus vaccine has reverted to human form. Before the infected may get in, Robert closes his bulletproof glass door. As soon as the leader arrives, he begins ramming into the glass, creating a butterfly pattern in the cracks. Robert considers whether it is, after all, God's plan, recalling his daughter. He injects a syringe full of the cured woman's blood into Anna and tells her to hide in the incinerator with Ethan until daybreak. Robert takes a grenade from his drawer, and as the infected leader crashes the glass, killing all of the infected in the room, they collide, killing all of the infected in the room. Anna and Ethan arrive at an odd location in the middle of nowhere. The route is blocked by a castle-like wall and a steel door. In that restricted enclave, several human survivors live. Anna hands the antidote-filled syringe to the human leader of that small village, and her voiceover informs us about Robert Neville's tale. Subscribe and turn on the notifications. We daily upload videos like this.